Lisa stared at the pregnancy test, her hands trembling as the two pink lines came into sharp focus. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not with Jack completely out of her life for the past 2 months. She sank down onto the bathroom floor, her back against the cool tile wall. The small apartment felt suddenly suffocating. They had broken up 8 weeks ago after a year of passionate ups and devastating downs. His career always came first. Late nights at the office, canceled plans, and a constant stream of work calls. Lisa had wanted stability, commitment, a future she could count on. Jack had wanted freedom, success, and time to build his empire before settling down. Their last fight had been explosive. Harsh words exchanged that couldn't be taken back. "You're suffocating me," he had shouted. "And you're never going to grow up," she had fired back. The door had slammed, and that was it. 2 months of silence followed, both too stubborn to reach out first. Now this, a baby, their baby. Lisa placed her hand on her still flat stomach. The timing lined up. Their last night together had been a whirlwind of make-up sex after a minor argument, passionate, unguarded, and apparently unprotected enough to create a life. Her period had always been irregular, so she hadn't thought much about missing it until the nausea started last week. Her phone sat on the counter, Jack's contact still saved despite her best intentions to delete it during moments of weakness. Should she call him? Did he deserve to know? Would he even care? Lisa closed her eyes, remembering how Jack looked when he talked about his childhood. His own father had left before he was born. "I'll never do that to my kid," he'd had told her once during a rare, vulnerable moment. "If I ever have children, I'll be there, always." But that was before everything fell apart between them. Lisa pulled herself up from the floor and splashed cold water on her face. The woman in the mirror looked afraid, her eyes wide with uncertainty. She had never planned to be a single mother. Her own mother had struggled to raise her alone after her father died. Lisa had always wanted a complete family for her children. Outside her bathroom window, the city bustled with afternoon activity, people going about their normal lives while hers had just been turned upside down. A wave of nausea hit her again, and she breathed deeply until it passed. That evening, Lisa sat on her small balcony watching the sunset. Her hand kept returning to her stomach, still unable to believe what was happening inside her body. She had always wanted children someday, just not like this. Not alone and still heartbroken over the man who had walked away. She sipped ginger tea to calm her stomach and flipped through her phone, pausing at photos of her and Jack that she couldn't bring herself to delete. His dark hair always slightly messy, his smile that lit up his entire face when he looked at her. Before things got complicated, before his ambition and her need for security created an unbridgeable gap between them. The truth was unavoidable. Jack needed to know. Whether he wanted to be involved or not was his choice, but keeping this secret wasn't fair to anyone, not to him, not to their baby, and not to herself. Lisa set down her mug and took a deep breath. She wouldn't call him tonight. She needed time to process, to plan what to say. How exactly do you tell your ex-boyfriend that despite everything that drove you apart, you would be connected forever through a child? Tomorrow, she decided. Tomorrow she would figure out the next step in this unexpected journey. Lisa stood outside Jack's apartment building, her heart racing as she stared up at the familiar windows. 1 week had passed since discovering her pregnancy. She had rehearsed this conversation countless times, but nothing felt right. Taking a deep breath, she pressed his number on the buzzer. "Hello." His voice through the intercom made her stomach flip. "It's me, Lisa. Can we talk?" A long pause followed. "Lisa, is everything okay? I need to see you. It's important." The door buzzed open. Lisa rode the elevator to the 4th floor, her mind racing. When the doors opened, Jack was already waiting in the hallway. He looked good, too good. His dark hair was shorter than before, and he wore a simple blue t-shirt that brought out his eyes. Those same eyes now regarded her with confusion and caution. "This is unexpected," he said, holding the door open to his apartment. Lisa stepped inside, immediately surrounded by memories. The couch where they had spent countless movie nights, the small dining table where they'd shared meals and dreams. Nothing had changed, yet everything had. "Do you want something to drink?" Jack asked, his politeness a painful reminder of the distance between them now. "No, thank you." Lisa sat down on the edge of the couch. I need to tell you something and I'm not sure how. Jack sat across from her, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. Just say it, Lisa. I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air between them. Almost 9 weeks, and yes, it's yours. Jack's face went completely blank. He stared at her, unmoving, as if she had spoken in a language he didn't understand. Are you sure? He finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Yes, I've seen a doctor. The timing matches up to when we were last together. Jack stood suddenly, pacing to the window and back. I don't understand. We were careful. Most of the time anyway. Not careful enough, apparently. Lisa watched him process, his expressions shifting from shock to disbelief to something unreadable. What are you planning to do? He asked cautiously. I'm keeping it. Lisa's hand moved instinctively to her stomach. I wanted you to know. You have a right to be involved or not. That's your choice. But I couldn't keep this from you. Jack ran his hands through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Lisa's chest ache. I need a minute, he said, disappearing into the kitchen. Lisa heard water running, then silence. When Jack returned, his face was damp, his eyes clearer. I never expected this, he said, sitting beside her now, close enough that she could smell his cologne. But I'm not walking away. That's not who I am. I don't expect anything from you, Jack. I know you don't. That's always been our problem, hasn't it? You never demanded what you deserved. His eyes met hers. This changes everything, does it? Lisa asked. We still want different things. A baby doesn't fix that. No, but it means we need to figure it out. Jack hesitantly reached for her hand. Would it be okay if I came to your next doctor's appointment? The question surprised her. You want to? Of course I want to. That's our child. His voice broke slightly on the word our, and Lisa felt tears threatening. Next Tuesday, 10 o'clock. Jack nodded, still holding her hand. The touch was electric, familiar yet new. For a moment, neither spoke, both lost in the magnitude of what lay ahead. I'm scared, Lisa admitted finally. Me too, Jack confessed. But we'll figure this out, one step at a time. When Lisa left his apartment an hour later, nothing was solved. The complications between them remained, but something had shifted. A fragile bridge beginning to form over the chasm that had separated them. As she walked to her car, Lisa felt both terrified and surprisingly hopeful. The doctor's office bustled with expectant mothers and their partners. Lisa sat alone, flipping through a parenting magazine without really seeing the pages. The door opened and she looked up, surprised to see Jack arriving 15 minutes early. He scanned the room, his face brightening when he spotted her. Sorry, wasn't sure about parking, he said, settling into the chair beside her. Did I miss anything? Just got here myself, Lisa replied, suddenly aware of how close he sat, his familiar scent bringing back memories she tried to suppress. Jack noticed the magazine in her hands. Learning about baby stuff? Trying to. It's overwhelming. She hesitated. Thanks for coming. I wouldn't miss it. His voice was soft, sincere in a way that made her heart ache. When the nurse called Lisa's name, Jack stood immediately, following her down the hallway. In the exam room, he looked uncertain where to place himself, finally settling on a chair in the corner while Lisa changed into the medical gown behind a screen. The ultrasound technician arrived, a friendly woman who smiled at them both. First-time parents? Yes, Jack answered before Lisa could explain their complicated situation. Lisa lay back on the table, tensing slightly as the technician spread cold gel on her stomach. Jack moved closer, his eyes fixed on the small screen. There's your baby, the technician said, pointing to a tiny shape. About the size of a strawberry now. Lisa stared at the screen, emotion rising in her throat. When she glanced at Jack, she saw his eyes were wet. That's our baby, he whispered, reaching for her hand without thinking. Lisa didn't pull away. The technician pointed out features, took measurements, and printed photos for them. All the while, Jack's hand remained wrapped around Lisa's, his thumb occasionally brushing across her knuckles in a gentle caress. Afterward, in the parking lot, Jack studied the ultrasound photos. It feels real now, he said. Before, it was just an idea, but now? I know, Lisa agreed. It's terrifying. Are you hungry? Jack asked suddenly. There's that cafe you used to like down the street. Lisa hesitated, then nodded. I could eat. At the cafe, they sat by the window, an awkward silence between them until their food arrived. Jack watched as Lisa devoured her sandwich. The morning sickness is better when I keep eating, she explained, noticing his amused expression. I've been reading up on pregnancy, Jack admitted, trying to understand what you're going through. This surprised her. You have. I bought a few books, and there are some good websites. He looked embarrassed. I want to be helpful, even if we're not, together. Lisa finished for him. Right. Jack pushed his food around his plate. I've been thinking about that night a lot. Our fight. Lisa tensed. Jack, we don't have to. I was wrong, he interrupted, about many things. I said you were suffocating me, but the truth is I was scared of how much I needed you. Lisa stared at him, unprepared for this confession. Work was easier to focus on than admitting how terrified I was of disappointing you, he continued. Of not being enough. You never talked to me about any of this, Lisa said softly. I know. That's on me. He met her eyes. I've missed you, Lisa, every day. The words hung between them, charged with unspoken feelings. Jack's phone rang, breaking the moment. He glanced at it and silenced the call. Your boss? Lisa asked, recognizing his gesture. Not important right now. Jack reached across the table, his fingers lightly touching hers. This is what matters. Walking back to their cars, their hands brushed accidentally. Jack caught her fingers, holding them gently. Can I call you tomorrow? He asked. Lisa nodded, unable to deny the warmth spreading through her chest, despite her rational mind warning her to be careful. As she drove home, the ultrasound photos on the passenger seat, she couldn't help wondering if perhaps this unexpected child might lead them back to each other in ways neither had anticipated. Lisa's growing baby bump was now visible beneath her loose dress as she walked into her mother's house for Sunday dinner. 4 months pregnant, she had fallen into a routine with Jack. Doctor's appointments together, regular check-in calls, and occasional dinners that felt increasingly less like co-parenting discussions and more like dates. There you are, her mother said, embracing her. I was beginning to think you'd cancel again. Sorry, I've been busy. Lisa followed her mother into the kitchen, immediately noticing the extra place setting at the table. Are we expecting someone? Her mother's smile was too bright. Robert is joining us. You remember him? David's son from church? He's a dentist now with his own practice. Lisa sighed. Mom, I told you I'm not interested in being set up. It's just dinner, her mother insisted, stirring something on the stove. Besides, he knows about your situation. He doesn't mind. Lisa felt her temper rising. My pregnancy isn't something someone needs to not mind, and Jack and you what? Her mother turned, eyebrows raised. That boy broke your heart once already. Are you telling me you're getting back together? The doorbell saved Lisa from answering. Throughout dinner, Robert was polite and clearly interested, his eyes lingering on Lisa despite her obvious pregnancy. He spoke about his dental practice, his new house, his financial stability, all directed at Lisa with pointed significance. I've always wanted children, he mentioned casually over dessert. I think it's admirable when women choose to be mothers, regardless of circumstances. Lisa's phone buzzed with a text from Jack. Meeting finally over. Can I stop by later? She excused herself early, ignoring her mother's disappointed look and Robert's offer to call her sometime. When Jack arrived at her apartment that evening, his tie was loosened and his eyes tired. Sorry about the time. Big presentation tomorrow. Lisa made them tea, settling beside him on the couch. About that presentation, don't you have that promotion interview this week too? Jack nodded, suddenly looking uncomfortable. That's actually what I wanted to talk about. If I get it, and it's looking likely, they want me to relocate to the Chicago office. The news hit Lisa like a physical blow. Chicago? That's halfway across the country. I know. Jack ran his hand through his hair. The thing is, it's a huge opportunity, the kind that comes once in a career. Just like the last promotion, Lisa said quietly, and the one before that. This is different, Jack insisted. With the baby coming, I need to think about providing. This position would mean financial security for all of us. All of us? Lisa questioned. What exactly are you imagining, Jack? You in Chicago while I raise our child alone here? Jack moved closer. I've been thinking maybe you could come with me. We could get a place together, try again, not just for the baby, but for us. Lisa stood up, needing distance. So nothing's changed. Your career still comes first, and I'm supposed to uproot my entire life to follow your dreams. That's not fair, Jack said, standing too. I'm trying to build something for our future. Our future or your future? Lisa placed protective hands over her stomach. My doctor is here. My support system is here. Your support system being your mother, who had some dentist over to audition for my replacement. Jack's voice rose. Yeah, I saw him leaving as I arrived. He looked quite interested. Don't you dare make this about Robert, Lisa snapped. This is about you making major life decisions without considering how they affect me again. Jack stepped closer, his expression softening. Tell me you feel nothing when I'm with you, he challenged. Tell me these past weeks haven't meant anything. Instead of answering, Lisa found herself reaching for him, her lips meeting his in a kiss that held months of longing. Jack responded immediately, pulling her closer, his hands gentle on her back. When they broke apart, breathing heavily, Jack rested his forehead against hers. I don't have all the answers, he whispered. But I know I don't want to lose you again. Lisa closed her eyes, caught between the familiar warmth of his touch and the fear that history was repeating itself. Lisa woke to sharp pains shooting through her abdomen. Gripping her 6-month pregnant belly, she fumbled for her phone in the darkness. The clock read 3:17 a.m. Another pain ripped through her, stronger than before, making her gasp. Jack, she whispered into the phone when he answered, her voice tight with fear. Something's wrong with the baby. I'm coming right now. Call an ambulance, he said, instantly alert. Lisa heard rustling on his end of the line as he scrambled for his keys. Don't hang up. Stay on the phone with me. 15 minutes later, paramedics loaded Lisa into an ambulance. Jack arrived just as they were closing the doors, his hair disheveled, wearing mismatched clothes. I'm the father, he told the paramedic firmly. I need to be with her. In the hospital, doctors rushed Lisa for tests while Jack paced the waiting room. His important presentation was in 5 hours, the one that would secure his Chicago promotion. His phone buzzed with messages from his boss, reminding him to get the final numbers ready. Family of Lisa Mitchell. A doctor appeared, looking serious. That's me, Jack said, his heart pounding. Is the baby. She's stable now, the doctor assured him. Placental abruption. The placenta started to separate from the uterine wall. We've stopped the bleeding, but she'll need complete bed rest for the remainder of the pregnancy. The next 48 hours are critical. Jack followed the doctor to Lisa's room. She lay pale against the white sheets, an IV in her arm and monitors beeping steadily beside her. When she saw him, tears filled her eyes. The baby? She asked weakly. Stable, Jack said, taking her hand. You both gave me quite a scare. Your presentation, Lisa remembered suddenly. Jack, it's in a few hours. Jack looked at his watch, then back at Lisa's fragile form. He thought about the Chicago position, the salary increase, the corner office, all the things he'd been working toward for years. Then he thought about the absolute terror he'd felt when he heard Lisa's pained voice on the phone. The fear that he might lose her, lose them both. I'm not going anywhere, he said, his voice thick with emotion. My presentation can wait. But your promotion doesn't matter. Jack pulled his chair closer, still holding her hand. Nothing matters more than you and our baby right now. Jack texted his boss while Lisa slept, explaining the emergency. The response was immediate and cold. We'll have to move forward with another candidate for Chicago. Jack put his phone away, looking at Lisa's sleeping face. For the first time in his career, a lost opportunity didn't bother him. His priorities had shifted so completely, it was as if someone had rearranged his entire world. Hours passed. Lisa woke to find Jack still beside her, dark circles under his eyes, holding her hand. You're still here, she murmured. Where else would I be? He brushed hair from her forehead. I called your mother. She's on her way. Did you tell your boss? Jack nodded. The Chicago position is off the table. Lisa's eyes widened. Jack, no, you can't give that up because of me. I'm not giving it up because of you, he corrected gently. I'm giving it up because of us. This morning, when I thought I might lose you, his voice broke. I realized what really matters. It's not a job in Chicago or anywhere else. It's being here with you and our baby. But your career. I'll still have a career, Jack said, just one that doesn't require sacrificing my family. He placed his hand on her belly, feeling a small kick against his palm. I'd almost lost everything that really matters today. I won't make that mistake again. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. I was so scared. Me too, Jack admitted, his usual confidence stripped away. I love you, Lisa. I never stopped, and I think deep down, that's what scared me the most, how much I need you, how empty my life is without you. Their hands entwined over their child, the hospital's beeping monitors a steady reminder of how fragile and precious their new beginning was. The late afternoon sun filtered through Lisa's apartment blinds, casting long shadows across the floor where Jack sat assembling a white wooden crib. 2 months had passed since her hospital scare. At 8 months pregnant, her doctor had finally relaxed the strict bed rest orders, allowing limited movement around the apartment. Are you sure that peace goes there? Lisa asked from her position on the couch, surrounded by baby clothes she was organizing. Jack looked up, a screwdriver in one hand and an instruction manual in the other. Absolutely not. This thing is like advanced engineering. He grinned at her, the ease between them now a stark contrast to the tension that had marked their early pregnancy. Since declining the Chicago position, Jack had restructured his work life entirely. He'd negotiated a senior role with fewer hours and partial remote work, a change that shocked Lisa, who had never seen him prioritize anything above career advancement. My mother still can't believe you turned down that promotion, Lisa commented, folding a tiny yellow onesie. Your mother still can't believe a lot of things about me, Jack replied with a wry smile. But she's coming around. It was true. Lisa's mother had slowly warmed to Jack's constant presence, especially after he started helping with her garden on weekends, a peace offering that had evolved into genuine enjoyment for both of them. Jack tightened the last screw and stood to admire his handiwork. Not bad for a corporate guy who never held a screwdriver before last month. Lisa laughed. Your new handyman skills are impressive. Speaking of new skills, Jack said, sitting beside her on the couch, his hand naturally finding her rounded belly. I finished that parenting class yesterday. Did you know there are 5 different ways to swaddle a baby? Is that what all those practice sessions with the teddy bear were about? Lisa teased, covering his hand with hers. Their fingers intertwined as the baby kicked against their palms. These quiet moments together had become precious to both of them. Neither rushed to define what they were becoming, something more than co-parents but still rebuilding what had once been broken. I've been thinking, Jack said, his voice more serious. This apartment is getting crowded with all the baby stuff. Tell me about it, Lisa agreed. I can barely walk to the bathroom without tripping over something. What if we looked for a house, something with a yard, more space? Jack's eyes met hers, cautious but hopeful. Together. Lisa's heart quickened. Together as in I want us to be a family, properly. Jack shifted to face her more directly. I know we've been taking it slow, rebuilding trust. But Lisa, these past months have shown me what matters. When I wake up on your couch after staying late to help, I hate leaving in the morning. You don't have to leave, Lisa said softly. Jack's eyes darkened with emotion. I need you to be sure. This isn't just about convenience or the baby. I'm in love with you, still, always, but I need to know you trust me again. Lisa studied his face, the face she'd loved for so long. The man who had disappointed her, yes, but also the man who had shown up for every doctor's appointment, who had held her hand through midnight worries, who had completely reorganized his life to be present for her and their child. I do trust you, she whispered. The man you've become these past months, he's the man I always knew you could be. Jack leaned forward, his lips meeting hers in a kiss that felt like coming home. His hands cradled her face gently, the tenderness in his touch bringing tears to her eyes. When they broke apart, Jack rested his forehead against hers. So, house hunting. Lisa smiled, her fingers tracing the stubble along his jaw. House hunting, but I get final say on the kitchen. Deal. Jack sealed their agreement with another kiss, more passionate this time. Later, as evening fell and they lay together on the couch watching a movie, Lisa nestled against Jack's chest, his arm protectively around her. For the first time in a long while, tomorrow didn't seem frightening, it felt like a promise. Soft morning light filtered through the hospital room window as Lisa held their newborn daughter in her arms. Barely 6 hours old, the tiny infant slept peacefully, her perfect features a stunning blend of both parents. Jack sat on the edge of the bed, his eyes never leaving his daughter's face, wonder and love etched into every line of his expression. "She's absolutely perfect," Jack whispered, gently stroking the baby's tiny hand with his finger. 10 fingers, 10 toes, and your beautiful eyes. "She's got your nose," Lisa replied, her voice tender with exhaustion and joy. The 14 hours of labor had been intense, but with Jack by her side the entire time, she had found strength she didn't know she possessed. A nurse entered, checking monitors and making notes. "Have you decided on a name yet?" Jack and Lisa exchanged a look, a silent agreement passing between them. "Olivia," Lisa said. "Olivia Grace. Beautiful name for a beautiful girl," the nurse commented before leaving them in their peaceful bubble once more. When the door closed, Jack carefully took Olivia from Lisa's arms, cradling her with a confidence that belied his initial nervousness. "Hello, Olivia," he whispered. "I'm your dad. I've been waiting so long to meet you." Lisa watched them, tears gathering in her eyes. Just a year ago, she could never have imagined this scene, Jack holding their child with such natural ease, their future stretching before them full of promise, rather than complicated arrangements and shared custody schedules. "What are you thinking about?" Jack asked, noticing her tears. "How differently this could have gone," Lisa admitted. "If you hadn't come to that first appointment, if I hadn't called you that night when I was scared. Or if I hadn't realized what an idiot I was being about Chicago," Jack added with a gentle smile. Their new house keys sat on the bedside table, moving day scheduled for next week. The 3-bedroom home with the fenced backyard and bright kitchen had become theirs just in time for Olivia's arrival. Jack carefully returned the sleeping baby to Lisa's arms, then reached into his pocket. "There's something I've been wanting to ask you. I was going to wait until we were home, but seeing you hold our daughter, I can't wait another minute." Lisa's breath caught as Jack pulled out a small velvet box. "I'm not asking because of Olivia," he said quickly. "Though she's the most incredible gift we could have given each other. I'm asking because this past year showed me that life without you isn't the life I want." He opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. "I love you, Lisa. The way you laugh, the way you never gave up on me even when I deserved it, your strength through everything. Will you marry me?" Lisa looked from the ring to Jack's hopeful face to their sleeping daughter. The journey that had brought them here, from bitter breakup to unexpected pregnancy to this profound love, felt like exactly the path they were meant to travel. "Yes," she whispered, tears flowing freely now. "Yes, I will." Jack slipped the ring onto her finger, then leaned forward to kiss her, gentle and reverent. Olivia stirred between them, her tiny mouth forming a perfect O as she yawned. "I think she approves," Jack said with a smile, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. A knock at the door announced Lisa's mother, bearing flowers and a stuffed bear. Her face softened at the tableau before her, her daughter, the new baby, and Jack looking every bit the proud father and devoted partner. "I see I'm interrupting a moment," she said, noticing the ring glinting on Lisa's finger. "Come meet your granddaughter," Lisa invited, watching as her mother approached cautiously, her previous reservations about Jack melting away at the sight of the newborn. As the room filled with soft conversation and the unmistakable atmosphere of new beginnings, Lisa caught Jack's eye over her mother's shoulder. He mouthed "I love you" silently, his face full of promise and commitment. This wasn't an ending, Lisa realized, but the true beginning of everything they were meant to be.